Hi there, it's Riikka Kovasin here with some fun and quick ATCs using bird stickers and watercolors. I'm starting these ATCs, like so many I nowadays do, by creating my own background paper. This time I opted for watercolors and I'm making this kind of dotted pattern. So I'm first using a bigger flat brush to apply some paint to the paper, leaving it wet, and while the pool of color is still wet, I'm adding a touch of another color with a smaller brush inside, so the colors mixed. It's kind of a wet on wet technique. As you can see, I'm working on segments because of the watercolor needs to be wet when I'm adding the other color, so I'm afraid that if I do the whole sheet at one go, the first blobs of color start to dry before I get to add the other color in. The colors I'm adding in are inspired by the focal points I'm then adding on top later on. So they are these bird stickers. So there's orange and yellow and different kind of blue and green going in. Before I let the sheet dry, I add some splashes to it, kind of breaking the space between the blobs and the blank page. When I then have my parent piece done and dried, it's time to start building the ATCs. I mounted these lovely bird stickers to old book pages because I wanted them to be raised from the background, so this creates a lovely little outline for them, adds a little bit of texture and color to them, and also makes them sturdier, so I can use foam dots later on to adhere them to the cards. I'm using this kraft cardstock for the bases of my cards, and then cut a little bit smaller pieces out of the freshly made pattern paper to be put on top. I'm using a corner punch to round the corners and double-sided tape to adhere the layers together. When I then have all the 5 card bases done and ready for the second stage, I continue by stamping. I'm mixing a couple of stamps, getting this more collaged, let's say, look than just using one stamp. I'm repeating then this to all of the cards a little bit later on. To highlight the focal point, the bird, a little bit more, I'm creating a kind of a background or a halo around it, and thought that this fiber might look like a little bird nest around it. So I used the sisal and make a little wreath out of it, and then staple the kind of wreath or a ring to the background, and then I'm using foam dots to add the bird on top. Now that all the cards have little birds' nests and the birds on top, it's time to add the finishing touches. I felt that the cards needed a little speck of color still, so I chose a couple of old buttons from my stash, and I'm adding a piece of twine to them to make them look like they're sewn to the background, even though I used just craft glue to adhere them. As the finishing touch or final detail, I then add a word sticker to each card. Here in the video you can just see me sticking them in place, but afterwards I used craft glue just to make sure they will stick to the cards and especially to the fiber part of it, because I was a little hesitant that the sticker will adhere properly. And here they are, 5 ready bird cards, ready to be swapped or sent out. So give me a message or throw me an email if you want one of these cards. I'm usually very happy to send them all over the world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider subscribing like always. Thank you so much. I'll be seeing you within a week. Bye!